All right, I'd like to call the Extension Education Committee meeting to order, and please be advised that this meeting may be conducted virtually and/or live stream on Trempealeau County's website as well as WTCO. This service is being offered when possible to provide members with public access to Trempealeau County government functions. The public is always welcome to attend any public meeting in person. Members will also have a 15-minute block of time to comment on today's agenda items. Members may be present in person or call in to make such comments. The telephone number is 715-538-1894. Public comment may be extended and/or curtailed at the discretion of the committee and/or board chair after advisement by the committee and/or board. I'd like to the certification of the open meeting law requirements have been met, I assume.
Yes.
All right. Number 3, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Doc, seconded by Don. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Number 4, adoption of the April 23, 2024 minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motioned by Andy. Any second?
I'll second.
Second by Don. All right. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, number 5, the reports. 5A, digital media update.
All right, so we've had a lot of changes since our last meeting. We've got our firewall fixed, so we're kind of back up and running normally downstairs. Our computers are functioning well again, so that was a really big hurdle that we accomplished and overcame. Our meetings are live again. That happened about 2 months ago. So right after we last met, we were starting to do live meetings again, so it's kind of a nice feature. The new control room is almost fully complete. There's a few small things we're putting into that room over there. We had our annual Wisconsin Community Media Conference and Best of the Midwest Media Fest banquet on the 16th and the 17th of May. We took home 3 achievement awards, 1 excellence award, and then Nancy got the Friends of Access Award for her service through community media in the last over 30 years with community media. So I've got all the awards here, so I'll pass those around in a bit here. We've been a little bit busier now that we're getting closer to summer. A lot more activities and events are happening. Currently working with other departments on helping them create videos like land management and the tourism group, and also with the sheriff's department on their badges program. So we've been pushing out quite a bit of content the last few months. Yeah, if you have any questions, anybody?
No questions, but I'm glad that you've gotten a lot of things straightened out. I'm sure that was a lot of work, so good job.
Yes, yep, and I'll pass around the awards too for you guys to look at.
All right, on to the museum update.
Well, as far as the museum, it's still finding photos that I think are deserving of going on there. And I always try to post a few on Facebook, and I get a lot of people that comment on them, so I think that's good. The fair will be coming up, and the one-room schoolhouse down at the fairgrounds will be open. So I do hope if you haven't taken time to go through it, you should. We get a lot of people coming through there, and the kids love it. And it's really come a long way. I think we've tried hard to maintain it and to make it look like an authentic schoolhouse. We've got on the wall, we have one of those old phones that used to be on the wall with the crank and the receiver. And the kids love that. I mean, some of them look at that and they cannot imagine that's a phone because they've never, their phones have always been something you carry in your hand. So it is a lot of fun. So I hope if you come to the fair, I hope you come to the schoolhouse and visit. And we're still working on videos with historical content. We just did one on the civilian conservation camps that were in Trempealeau and Buffalo County. Really interesting. So it's up on YouTube now, and if you haven't seen it, take a few minutes to watch it. I guess that's basically it.
I actually have a couple of questions for you.
Oh, sure.
I am wondering, how does the museum take donations, for example? Are there only particular items that the museum would be interested in, or how would a person pursue donating something to the museum?
Well, the only thing they could donate would be a picture, because we don't have a physical, other than the schoolhouse, we don't have a physical structure. We're pretty much just visual.
Okay.
Because I have lots of people say, oh, I want to give you, my grandma's wedding dress or all this. And so what I usually tell them is to try Arcadia, because their area historical museum, if you've ever been over there, is big, and they do have storage. So that's what I usually tell people.
Okay, perfect. And then as far as the schoolhouse goes, would you take donations for that, or is that pretty full?
You mean money or physical donation?
Physical donations. My grandmother and great-grandmother were teachers, and we've been going through their stuff. So
Yeah.
like, there's some really neat schoolhouse-type items.
Well, I guess it would depend on what they are. We can take some things, but like I say,
Space
it's
is
pretty much
limited.
set up like the old-time one-room schoolhouse. We do have one little case that we've got some things in, but we don't have, it's not set up like a museum in that it has,
Right.
a lot of shelves and, and interesting thing. We've got the pictures along the walls.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the best thing and that's the thing that people want to come in and look at, are those old pictures. They really enjoy that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, on to educator report.
Before we start those, I would like to announce that Melissa Kono has been promoted to professor. She received her official letter from Chancellor Mnuchin, and we are so very proud of her. It takes a lot of really excellent work to get promoted in the Department of Extension faculty. So I'd like everybody to give her a round.
Congratulations.
So, that's it. Educator report.
Okay, that's it. Okay, number 6.
Oh, no. The other educators have reports.
Oh, they
to
do,
make,
okay.
yes.
I jumped the gun.
That's all right. Let's start with Adam.
Sure thing. Hello, everyone. Again, Adam Trenzo, youth and families educator, so kind of two different areas, and I'm currently at 60% in Trempealeau County because I'm taking a 40% leadership appointment at the state level that's 1 year in and has another year on it. So that being said, my educator report is in here. It's kind of the second one in. I kind of break it down by my youth education. A lot of it is around STEM education, but it goes in a few different directions. Most notably in the spring, it veers into environmental education and it's providing a lot of environmental education support to schools throughout the area. We lend STEM education resources and materials to schools, and I'll come in and provide some professional education to typically elementary school teachers who say, hey, our entire third grade teacher group wants to teach our kids more about the engineering design process, or we have that in our standards and we want to figure out how to best do that, and they kind of look to us as resources, and so I come in, talk about the resources we have, and then also talk through how we typically teach that. So it's just providing a resource to teachers in that regard. A lot of direct education through libraries. Went to the 4-H camp a week or two ago. Went to the Strum Rod and Gun Club fishing event. So a lot of different organizations just reaching out to us in that regard. A ton of environmental education at Galesville Electric and Trempealeau Environmental Day programs. And then the big one for the spring is we have the 8th grade Environmental Day program. So as many schools in the area that choose to participate, this one was our largest one yet, at least in the last decade. 250 youth from schools throughout the county come down there and they learn about the commerce of the river in our county by looking at the lock and dam. They learn about preserving and best use of natural resources at the wildlife refuge, and they learn about cool outdoor activities at Perot Park, and kind of just what's right in their backyard and to get outside. And you have, X number of kids are farm kids, and, this is kind of their thing, but some of them have never been to Perot Park before or haven't gone on a hike before, and so this is their chance to to spread their little wings and see what it looks like. So that's always a really exciting program, and it was a beautiful day for it. So that was nice. Any questions specifically about youth education before I go into some of the others? For family education, a lot of it focuses around working with the justice system, so teaching reentry skills, stress management, parenting in the Trempealeau County Jail, working with folks who are on diversion programs. That means that they have some sort of charge pending, and instead of having that charge go through, they work with Megan in the DA's office and myself for education in whatever kind of areas are identified as needs. So it's like, yeah, I'm doing okay, but it's managing my stress that's kind of gotten me into hot water here. And so we work through conflict resolution, stress management, different opportunities in that regard. Or it could be financial education. They're spending more than is coming in, and that's why they're feeling particularly stressed. Virtual focus on fathers and general parenting programs. So I'll hop on Zoom and teach something about parenting from a distance to dads who are non-custodial. So they've got a lot of concerns and stress and different situations going on, and just kind of talking it through with them, hearing what they have to say about that can be really powerful. So we teach that kind of as a group around the state. And then lending out parenting and literacy kits through local libraries. So first trip to the doctor, we've got a bag for that, and parents can check it out. They read books about like going to the doctor for the first time, or potty training, or having a new brother or sister. And then they also have various toys associated with that. Or if it's their first flight, there's a little toy airplane and a little toy cap. And so it helps parents to kind of work with their young people to get prepared for whatever kind of big life changes coming up. So that's kind of a nice thing there.
A couple of questions on the family education. With the Trempealeau County Jail having increased capacity and taking inmates from other counties as well, how is that impacting your volumes and the work that you're doing?
Drastically. It's doing it in two ways. One is we have a much higher volume. The other is they're able to stay there for their entire sentence. Previously, I would be working with somebody, they'd be really promising, they'd be right at that point where they're at that inflection point, they want to make a change, and they're at that point where my intervention could do something for them, and then zip, they're in Clark County until they come back the day that they're released. I don't even get to connect with them again, and then they're gone with a trash bag in their hands and flip-flops in the winter, and that's it. But now that they're able to be here the whole time, I can work with them every week, so we can put that resume together, and then they can come in and we can apply for jobs for 30 minutes or an hour. We can get them into Ornua or different places all around here, back to Ashley Furniture, back to working, so that they don't get out and then reach out to Ashley Furniture and say, okay, it's going to be 2 weeks, and 2 weeks can be a long time if you're struggling with substance use or different things like that, and you expected things to go flow pretty smoothly. So being able to have that really warm handoff has been really meaningful.
What does that mean for your workload, though?
Yeah, it's increased a lot, and one of the things that has come from that and working with the Sheriff's Department is I was just putting together a letter of support for a jail programming staff member. So the sheriff's had this idea for a long time, and we've been at that point where the library wants to come in and do work, RCU wants to come in and do financial education. There's retired social workers who want to come in and work with kind of behavioral, thinking. And it's been a really difficult one with the transition to the new jail. But now they're at the point where it's yeah, we want to start building that up and making sure that we can, wrap a lot of services around these folks, so when they get out, they can get back to being productive and having all their kind of mental health and or other needs met, so they can be productive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any follow-up, to see how successful this intervention? Are we able to follow up with these and track what, are they the recidivism?
That's been a long-term goal of mine. Within the justice system, it can be very difficult to be like, hey, how are you doing? Because most of the time people want to be away from that organization that was previously, restricting their freedoms. There is a committee within the CJCC, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, that is looking at like how do we track and track and use that evidence for best case over time. So I'd say it's one of my goals, and it's remarkably difficult to do, especially if like we don't have a committed justice data person to track that. Like, who does it fall to? Is it the sheriff? Is it the DA? Is it the judge? So that's a goal.
Do you feel like the program is worthwhile? Like you're making?
Yeah, absolutely. There's people who go out, I mean, I ride my bike or I walk around this community and I see people who are in jail and they wave and they smile and they're doing their thing and they're working and they're, most notably, people don't think about this, but they are with their kids, 2, 3, 4 kids, and they are taking care of them and they're doing what's needed. A lot of people think that they're just punishing that one person with that, maximum 90-day stay or something, but they've got kids and they need to get back out there. They're missing birthdays, they're missing graduations. They're not helping them learn how to drive a car or get their first job, so.
Thanks.
And just one other question. The virtual parenting program, how many attendees?
It kind of ranges, I would say, between like 9 and 15 on a given night. And they can be from this county or they can be from other counties.
That's statewide, you said?
Yep. Mhm.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's very focused. Sometimes it'll be a particular, human services group that works with 2 or 3 dads, and they'll bring them in specifically.
Wouldn't there be a way to track that, these offenders in a year's time? You say, well, this is how we can track it. They haven't came back into our system. So without calling them up and saying, how you doing? Well, we know out of 20 people, 15 never came back. So that's a way that we could possibly track without having to contact them, correct? I mean, wouldn't we have that information? Out of these 20, in a year's time, who came back or who was offended again? So that'd be a way to easily track it, wouldn't it? I mean, I know it takes time to do that too, but at
Right.
least you don't have to contact the individual to know how they're doing.
Yeah, I think in that situation, it's coordinating between a lot of different groups to figure out what interventions they were given. And then it's just essentially assigning somebody and like working the different data management systems. Because that's the problem thing too, is like the DA and the sheriff and the judge all use different kind of tracking systems. And there's a lot of like HIPAA concerns as well for sharing that information. It's not that we can't, and there's systems out there that could work, but it's just kind of a long-term process. And I think that being able to assign or dedicate some level of staff to do that, so like whether it's a CJCC coordinator or somebody within a particular department would be, so I think if that's something that would be seen as a priority, we would just need to assign some staff time to it.
I think it might be something interesting to consider if there does become the jail programmer, I think is what you suggested.
Yeah.
There might be some capacity for that, yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, just kind of building capacity, working with a lot of different organizations. I just last night had the final community listening session for the City of Independence, and just parents coming in, retirees coming in, young people, and just kind of hearing what they have to say as a means to support grants that the City of Independence might be writing. I was reached out to by both the city administrator and the librarian in Independence, and just giving them a voice. A lot of people are frustrated about different priorities or have certain things that they want to see happen, and being able to give the people of the county or of that municipality a voice that they can then be shared with and help to develop strategic plans for the city or any other grants that they might be exploring is a powerful thing. So it's really nice.
Adam, how do people know to attend the community listening sessions?
Yeah, so it was advertised through the library's Facebook page, and then she also shared one flyer went home with every student in the school. And then I think she shared it with some of the other organizations, and they had flyers there at City Hall when people were coming in. But I do think that was one of the things we heard. It's like, oh, I never heard about this. And I think that comes with like the fractured landscape of how people receive information in a rural area. Yeah. It's like, oh, you didn't know to go to the Pigeon Falls, a great little place to be, like closed web, Facebook page to learn all your information and things like that.
Right, I live in Independence, I had no idea that was
Yep,
going on.
exactly, so. And then the Alliance for Youth, we're kind of on our summer break, but that's a group of kind of school districts and support groups, Children's Wisconsin, lots of different organizations that come together to share best practices and apply for grants and different things like that. That group, we just put $2,500 out the door to support some summer educational programming, as well as some new curriculum for a school district in Osseo for young women to support some of their education. So the Resilient Trauma-Informed Communities, we had a recent networking event, so different people from around the counties coming together and just kind of learning a little bit of professional development and then a lot of just networking and getting to meet each other, which doesn't normally happen. You would think that it does, but having a dedicated event for it is nice. The Jail to Community Reentry Coalition, we received $9,000 from local churches to provide coats, underwear, socks, rides, phones, different things like that to folks being released because they saw that as their community, they saw that as a need as well. The Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, we've been facilitating it. One thing, we did have a parent of a parent who lost a son to fentanyl who came into the CJCC, and it was a very powerful presentation. And from that, she's been assigned to our opioid settlement discussion group. So we have somebody with lived experience in that group who can help us to understand the situation a little bit better. So that's a community member being able to inform and be a part of local government and be in the room helping to guide some of those conversations. And I just received an email from the Department of Corrections coordinator in Eau Claire saying, hey, can you put me in touch with them? I want to elevate their voice and make sure that their information gets to folks in Madison as well as in the local Eau Claire area. So that's kind of one of the things that comes out of that group. The Restorative Justice Committee, we're bringing restorative justice services from Eau Claire back into the area. Treatment and Diversion Oversight Committee, we just reviewed some of their policies and procedures and some coordination for drug testing within the county. The Opioid Settlement Committee will be coming together, and then the Rural Unity through Hope Interfaith Group is a group that I also support. And then we've got our science camp coming up, teaching STEM programs all this summer. And then we've got a Latinx 4-H club in Arcadia that we're trying to support. One thing recently, the Wisconsin Arts Board reached out to us and said, we want to really support a unique arts program in the area. And so looking at getting a grant for that group to do a folkloric dance program. And that's what I got. Thanks.
I will update you on Steve's work. Steve is out all day with an educational program, so he cannot be here. But he's been setting up summer meetings and next winter's programs. And he has 2 nitrogen optimization pilot program test plots. But they're in a holding pattern. They've been planted, the corn is growing, but it has to be a set amount before he starts putting on the treatments. And one is focused on hog manure, and the plot in Buffalo County is poultry manure. So, apparently they mostly do cow manure, beef manure, dairy cattle manure. And there's also a plot to determine optimum nitrogen rate with sunflowers. So he is serving as an as an advisor for that. So, June is safety month, so he's working on a number of different safety issues, both in Jackson County and in Buffalo County. So that's where he is at, that's what he's working on. Any questions for him that I can relay? Why don't we go to Food Wise, since this may be the first time some of you have met her.
Yep.
Good morning. My name is April. I'm the Food Wise Coordinator for Trempealeau, Jackson, Buffalo, and Pepin County. And yes, indeed, it has been a very, very, very busy school year, so you haven't seen me. We've been out in the community educating at 6 different schools, 75 different classrooms, so it's been a busy school year. Marielle has joined our team as of December, so she's been here about 6 months. So the onboarding process for her, she's doing wonderful. I did a technique of training and onboarding her that was very successful. She would watch me shadow. She would shadow a lesson that I taught, And then we would work together with the lesson, and then she would teach it while I shadowed her at the other schools. And so that worked really well for her to be able to see the lesson and then be able to take it and bring it out to the schools in a bilingual aspect, which is, of course, a wonderful opportunity for our community, especially here in Trempealeau County. So that process worked really well. We did that through the winter, and then in the spring here, she was ready to fly and go solo. So that was nice because we had 13 sites that we were at here in this springtime. So obviously capacity, we weren't able to both be at the same locations for 13 partners. So a lot of onboarding and support in that regard. I feel like FoodWise is always one step in the past and one step in the future as far as what we do. So a lot of things with our PAIRS data system, that's where we put our evaluation data in. And we didn't have a Jackson County support staff for the past year. And so that person normally would help me do that data. And we didn't have someone in that role. So I was doing data entry during that time frame as well. We'll talk about data here in a moment. And then planning for our next fiscal year. So our fiscal year for FoodWise works a little different than the normal fiscal calendar year of January to January. Ours is actually October 1st to the end of September. And so in springtime, we're always starting to plan for our next fiscal year, which is basically our school year. So getting the budget together, planning for where we're going to partner, reaching out to our partners and getting an agreement. So lots of those things happening while we're out doing our education. So the spring months in April was wrapping up our 5th grade lessons. So we do what I call cluster scheduling. So all of our partners are all, they all see the same show, what we call them. And so we take our show on the road and go to each of the schools and do those lessons week by week. So the 5th grade was wrapped up at the end of April, and then we started our 4K lessons throughout the community. And again, I taught a lesson, Marielle shadowed it, and then we both went our own way and did our 4K lessons at the different sites. So those are all mapped out in your packet. We also looked at data from our kindergarten lessons, which happened over the winter time. And I love looking at data because it really paints that picture of what impact we're doing in the communities. And so I did provide the information from the teachers and from the parents in the packet. So great reading material for later time. But obviously we're doing good things and it's showing in our data. Also, one of the cool things that happened over the winter with kindergarten is one of the teachers reached out to the food service director at Blair Taylor and said, hey, you've got to come in and see what's happening here. There's some really neat things with nutrition, and I think you guys could partner. And I love when that organically happens because I could go knock on doors or email and make calls and say, hey, I've got things that I would love to do with you. But if there is an interest, you're not going to hear back from them. And so I was able to meet with the food service director. She came in and shadowed a lesson. And from that, in the packet, you can see there's some great photos and visuals of what she did to the lunchroom based off of my lesson. And so we use what are called the food group friends. So we've got Mary Dairy and Jane Grain and Dean Protein. They're all little cute graphics that we used in the kindergarten curriculum. And so she took those and made them into bigger pictures, put them on all the pillars in the lunchroom, put different graphics on the napkins, and then set up the lunch line with all the different food group friends. Because if you're a kindergartner, you don't know the difference between fruits and vegetables until, of course, you have my lessons. But they were having a hard time knowing, oh, I have to take this and this, but which one is it? So the food group friends helped with that. So just out of that teaching in a classroom, having that teacher get excited, share it with the food service staff, there was this whole ripple effect to help me get some policy systems and environment things in place. So that was a really big highlight of our kindergarten timeframe, to be able to take it to the next level and have some bigger things happen in that particular school. And now that opens the door to further things that we can do, not only with that school, but she's also networked with other food service staff in the community. So able to say, hey, look at what we did here. Can we do something similar in your school? So that's exciting for next steps in next school year. Also did some parent programming at the Mondovi Head Start Center. I know that's a Buffalo County program, but we do offer parent programming for our Head Start partners as well. Due to capacity and time, availability. We just weren't able to do as much parent programming as we normally do. So it's on our agenda now that we have a quote-unquote full team in FoodWise to be able to do that next year, reach out to the parents and be able to do more parent programming. I also program with our low-income housing unit in Independence for Parkview. I also have 2 locations in Black River Falls for Jackson County. I did a lesson called Eat for the Health of It, talking about some key tips and strategies to incorporate into everyday habits, things that people do so that they can eat in a more healthful manner. So that was on the agenda. I usually meet with them once a quarter. In the past, I met with them once a month, but again, due to capacity, just not able to meet with them as regularly as I would like to. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Sounds like good work, and I like the energy I feel from you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Now you know why all the kids love Miss April.
I appreciate that.
Miss Andrea is not here today. She's, oh no.
She is watching, she's not on the Zoom though, she's watching the live stream, so she's with us in more than just.
Very good, very good. And they did a Clover College survey report. They gave them 17 choices. And number 1 was nature, things like fishing and trapping, arts and crafts, photography, woodworking, and animal science. So those are the kinds of projects and activities the students would like to learn more about. So that's very exciting, and I'm turning it over to Miss Melissa now.
Okay.
Ms. Melissa.
I mean, Professor Melissa also
Professor
works.
Kona.
I'm Professor Mommy at home.
I know.
Okay, so I am right now in the midst of 2 very different projects. One, I'm working with WTCO, Danny, and Kevin to do a Meet the Candidate interview series where I'm interviewing everyone who will be on the August partisan primary ballot. So from U.S. Congress on down to our county offices, the 4 offices that are up for reelection. Due to redistricting, we now have more assembly representation in Trempealeau County than we did before, which means I need to herd even more cats, as there are several candidates across 3 districts. So I've been working on setting up those interviews. We had our first one yesterday, and from now until the end of next week, we'll be interviewing lots of people. So that's, that's just what's been taking my time. I'm already planning election worker trainings for the fall with a couple different county clerks. I was just telling Becky prior to the meeting that I am on the Child Care Resource and Referral board, and we have a meeting coming up in August, but one of the great things that they do is the pre-licensing for new daycares. And also, I've been working with grants. Speaking of, and then I did go to the Wisconsin Downtown Action Council Summit in Wausau in May. I'm on their board, and so one of the things I did is created a survey on the state of downtowns for them, which they are publishing in a report, and they also shared it at the conference. I'm also got a lot of grant money, which is a good thing until you have to manage all these programs and make sure that the funds get spent in time, which in my case for one of the big ones is next week. So I've been doing water testing programs from Marathon County all the way over to Buffalo County that provides no-cost water testing for farmers who provide employee housing. And so I've been working with several counties to do that, and we're just trying to wrap up the final testing and then get the data in and do some evaluation coming up in July. And then I have other grant money in Clark County that's been taking up a lot of time too. I have a clean sweep grant. I did work with Jackson County a few weeks ago to help them apply for the first clean sweep grant that they've ever had, if not for 15 years maybe. And then I had a water program in Clark County in April, and then the education program. So I've just been trying to spend down some grant money in time and get one of those programs wrapped up. You heard about my promotion. I had some materials I had to get in for that, and then some other department things that I've been working on. We also have a civil rights review in Clark County for this year, so been working on gathering that data. So right now, I've just been focusing on those candidate interviews and wrapping up some of the grant programs with the water testing especially, and then looking forward to fall and lots of trainings. I'm also doing a series of the Year in the Life of a Clerk, which has a webinar it was a webinar last summer that I put together, but it's been requested several times, so now I'll be part of the local government series in the fall, going all around the state to present that. So those are just the highlights. No questions? Huh. Okay, maybe next time.
You covered it all.
I don't know where it's coming from.
Is that all the educators?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't want to assume. All right, on to number 6, business items with discussion and/or action.
We have a resolution in place to accept Juntos grant funds for extension programs in Trempealeau County. Did you want to explain this, or did you want me to go ahead and explain this? Okay. So we've received grant funds to support our county educators as they work with our Latinx residents involved in Juntos. And Juntos is that special program in the Arcadia area, working with the residents on, secondary pathways and thinking about 4-H and so on. So they were awarded a grant in the sum of $2,500, and $1,250 was budgeted as income in the 2024 budget, but the remaining $1,250 was not in the budget. And whereas to receive and allocate these fund grants for UW Extension programming in Trempealeau County, County Board approval is therefore necessary. So now be it resolved that Trempealeau County accepts this grant award in the amount of $1,250, and to direct the amount of $1,250 be deposited in the revenue account 101-46766, and allow Trempealeau County Extension access to these monies through Juntos non-lapsing account 101.55624.348. And it's introduced by you guys.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion to approve by Doc, seconded by Waldera. All those,
Ask for questions.
oh yeah, any questions?
Yes. Did we just not know that we were gonna get the $2,500, and we thought we were only gonna get $1,250, or how did that happen?
Well, I'm going to take that one. The grant, it seems to be whatever Adam is available, the grants jump from $1,250 to $3,000 to $2,500 somehow. I don't know how Paul and I got back to the $1,250, which last year I think it was $3,000. So we have to be on the same page, but it jumps all over the place. So we just need to get this recognized so we are able to spend it, which we already have.
Perfect.
So it would be great if we take care of it.
Yeah, I was just curious.
No,
more or less.
it jumps all over the place. It's just,
So when we're putting the income estimate in, it is an estimate.
yeah,
Yep, makes
a
sense.
total estimate. Thank you.
And just as a note for this, it's an extension internal grant, so they can't assign it directly to us. It has to go to the county, 'cause otherwise it looks like we're just kind of extensions, just kind of paying ourselves for the grant. So that's why it has to go into a resolution and can't just be managed internally with an extension.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Okay, all those in favor can state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
And we have a copy of the resolution for you to pass around. It's up here. There you
I
go.
got it. I'll put my John Hancock on it. And I'll pass it around. Going this way. There you go. Okay.
The next one.
On to the next, the next resolution, which is
Community garden.
Community Garden Grant Resolution, Direction, and/or Action.
Okay. I did ask my staff to, solicit financial support for their efforts. So Jacob did, and he received a grant from Compeer. So this resolution is to accept Compeer grant funds for the community garden. And it says, whereas UW-Madison Division of Extension, Trempealeau County, received a grant for $5,000 from Compeer Financial for the community garden in Arcadia for improvements. And whereas these funds are intended to support Trempealeau County educators in their work with the residents involved in the community garden, now be it resolved that Trempealeau County accepts this grant award in the amount of $5,000, and that these funds will be deposited in revenue account 101.46767 Community Garden to allow Trempealeau County Extension access to these monies through the Community Garden non-lapsing expense 101.55625.348, introduced by the committee.
Motion to approve.
Any questions from any committee members or staff members? All right,
All those in favor?
all those in favor, say
Aye.
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 Motion passed. Congratulations. And I got a copy here. Okay, on to horticulturalist update, discussion, and/or actions. 6C.
I spoke with Becky the other day, and the new procedure, if I understand correctly, is for any open positions to go forward to her office for review and approval, discussion. So really, what I'm just going to say now is that Jacob has officially left. He started his position in Winnebago County, and Becky has the information, and she'll make a decision one way or another. But anything you want to add, Becky?
No, I think, and then it'll come back, as we'll discuss more in the future.
Okay.
I don't know that I knew that he was leaving.
We announced it at our last meeting, I think.
Well, I might have missed that. Did he give her?
He went to another extension office that actually offered essentially a full-time position, and it's closer to his mother and his family, so it was a really good move for him.
Sure, okay,
I
thank you.
can't feel badly about that at all.
So is anyone supporting the community garden right now, then? Isn't that what he was doing?
Well, kind of, Tammy.
Well, I can just say, I guess it falls on Steve and myself. So that will have to be something that'll have to be addressed and taken care of. Hopefully it goes swimmingly. And we have a lot of water, so hopefully that helps. But it's two of us right now, so.
You guys are kind of heading it up right now. It's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, any week we don't have anything go down, then that's a good thing.
So just out of curiosity, the grant that we just accepted, the $5,000 grant, does that have to be spent in a certain way or a certain time frame that we need
So
to
it
be
has to be
concerned?
spent on everything for the garden, and his thing was to expand the garden. He only expanded one, he was gearing it two. So we did one. We have the expenses done. Steve and I were working yesterday to see if maybe we can do some more educating with our youth out there, and it has to be spent by next June. And I've been keeping an expense report because I gather Jacob's gone, so Steve and I will have to do that report in the end to Compeer to say where all that money was delegated and went.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. On to 6D, partnership agreement discussion.
Okay. We are sharing this with you. It's not an MOU. They call it a partnership agreement, and it really is sort of a discussion about how the partnership between Extension and our county offices goes. And we sent this out, and I sent it out to Becky and to Susan as well, to get their feedback and your feedback on the things in here that make sense, the things in here that you're like, what are they talking about? And give you an opportunity to provide feedback to the dean's leadership team on this document. And we did send it out. I don't know if you have had any time to read through it, if there's any discussion that you want to have surrounding this document.
Yeah. I'm curious about, through the partnership, I've always sort of been under the impression that the educators that we hire and the education that we provide are essentially determined by UW-Madison, as far as having a horticulturist and having a certain person who does, the food-wise and that type of thing. How is it determined, the education that that we provide in our area?
A little history, but, I'm Irish, so we're obsessed with history. Originally, it was sort of like what counties could afford and what they wanted. Traditionally, counties started with what was called a county agent. And I will tell you, that person did everything, which is why they're still called the county agent. But then they became ag agents. And then over time, we added the other positions. So when we underwent next generation, that planning process after our budgets were cut so tremendously, we had also reorganized, and counties at that point actually got to decide, we want our family living agent to really be a health and well-being or a human development relationships. We want our ag agent to be this or that. So at that point, it really was a county decision supported by UW-Madison. Now, and that's how the staffing was arranged. Now, when you want to change things, and Kristen can support me or oppose me on this, now when you want to change things, it really is kind of an elaborate discussion, because it depends a lot on which institute in Madison has funding for the position. So if we wanted to say that, we're done with human development and relationships, we need another health and well-being educator, we would literally have to go to the dean's leadership team and that institute director and say, do you have the money to support this? And I've asked them a lot for all these different things, and they usually tell me no. But if you can provide sufficient documentation to justify the transition, they will permit that. Now, when I talk about that, I'm talking about what we call co-funded positions. Those are the ones you see on your contract where you're only paying that annual fee. What was it, 40? Yeah, roughly that. I mean, it changes every year. And you pay that fee and the state pays the rest of it. Now, that's what we call a co-funded position. If you want some other position and you want it badly enough, and you're willing to pay the whole thing, you can have it. And that's actually what we did with the horticulture position. When we originally transitioned Steve from just Trempealeau County to Trempealeau and Jackson, and now he serves 3, we took those savings from both counties and we applied it to buying a half-time, fully funded horticulture position.
And I'm only asking questions so I understand. It probably sounds like I'm like
No,
questioning decisions, but I'm
it's-
just, like, how did we decide we needed a horticulturist?
We spent time talking with Steve and with other people, and it was a very onerous burden on the ag agents. It has been for some time to do, when they were doing regular work for farmers, doing those kinds of programs, when some person would come in and say, can you identify this bug? Or what's eating my dahlia? Or can you identify this tree? It got to be really time-consuming and burdensome. In addition, the ag agents were getting increasing pressure to specialize and focus. And certainly Jackson County, and to a lesser extent Trempealeau County, wanted somebody who could focus on sort of alternative ag opportunities, beginning farmers, people who were looking at adding, maybe fruit crops or something else. So that's why they made that decision to go with Hort.
So essentially, we knew that because of what the requests of Steve were.
Yes. Steve and his predecessor in Jackson County.
If I may add, what we do is in partnership with the county in terms of needs assessment. So every educator comes in, does a needs assessment with the county partner, talks to constituents, partners, and also looks at the data in that area to determine what the needs are, and then determine what the programming would be set at, or what they would program in, and work with the county partner to make sure that that happens. And so with horticulture, for instance, I don't know the process that happened here,
That's what happened.
And so it's a needs-based, so it's not necessarily just the word of the educator. They actually go through and do a comprehensive assessment of the area in partnership with the county.
Yep.
Is the board involved in any way in the decision that is made as to the types of education?
The
No.
committee typically.
Our committee, I'm sorry, yes.
We call it the Oversight Committee for a reason. This is a committee that's specifically named in statute.
So part of your role as the committee is to be the eyes and ears of extension, direct programming, work with educators on the needs that you see, working with your constituents.
And that's why at our last meeting, we talked about, the committee essentially directed us to move forward with a countywide needs assessment, across
Right.
all program areas.
Yep.
And that, that's, your job is like to direct us to do that. And when we do it and we bring the data back, we discuss it with you and talk about what it means, what the implications are. I mean, I know that's what I did with Pepin County. They had an open position, and it was challenging. It took us a long time, but it's like we used that data and presented it to that committee and talked about what does this mean on the ground? What kind of decision is best for the county given limited county funds? So they can, and I've been in for a very, very long time, and I've seen lots of these needs assessments. And sometimes it's just this little magical thing you do and you don't really think about it, which frustrates me because it really should be helping to direct the work of the educators. Now, it's a bit different for FoodWise as we like to say, they're in a bubble. They're a federally funded program. You know, the feds are like, we're giving these people this money, we want them educated in these ways. But the rest of the program, I mean, it is, you know, guys, what do I tell you to do when you start? What have I told you to do when you start here? Get to know people and find out what's needed.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I over-answered that, I apologize.
It's okay, you're passionate, I like it.
Other questions about this? I mean, any comments, anything you want me to share back with the DLT? Dean's leadership team, sorry, I'm,
And I just add with this document, this was done in partnership with WCA, which is the Wisconsin Counties Association. So this document isn't necessarily a document that came out of Madison, it was in partnership with.
Yes.
And that, this was done in what, 2021, I believe? And so there's been changes not only at the county level, but also at the state level, and that's what has prompted the rewrite, if you will. And so the committee of the Wisconsin Counties Association is also working with this. And so we're just asking for people, for committees, for administrators to also react as boots on the ground. Does it look okay? Does it match what your thoughts are in terms of our partnership? And have an opportunity to weigh in on this document as it's being revised.
and, you know, if you don't like answering things right away, and that's okay, you know, and you want a few days to think about it, certainly they have until the end of the month to either, you know, send me an email or stop by or whatever. Did the dean actually extend the amount of time?
Well, so we're introducing this document to all the committees and administrators in the month of June, and then the end of July, I believe, is when they'll be working through that rewrite with WCA, so.
So at your next meeting, if you have one in July, and I think you kind of want to, you can bring comments back to Kristen, so.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd like a little bit more time to just.
Oh,
look at it.
It'd be good
absolutely,
to kind of look that
absolutely.
over, because it's,
There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff in it, and, you know, the red, underlined red is things that have been added. Red marked through is things they've taken out, or proposing to take out.
okay.
So, really, take some time, go through this. You know, this is kind of some deep stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And it really helps to, you know, and I know I've done it, and I'm sure Kristen's done it. It's like, we really have tried to explain how this partnership works. It was confusing before we made the big changes, and it's still, everybody's still trying to wrap their arms around what this means and how this impacts us. And, you know, what is it that AED does? What is it that, you know, these educators do? What's our responsibility as a county? So those are important things to think about.
If you have questions throughout the month, you can certainly reach out to me. I'd be happy to meet with you and talk a little bit more about
Could you
the
introduce
partnership.
yourself?
Yes, I was gonna say, have you, well, and this, Kevin, this transitions smoothly into the next agenda item.
Yep, yep, exactly. This AED transition, see, it goes right into the,
Yeah, we are so well timed. Why don't you introduce yourself, and then I'll talk about what's going on.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. So my name is Kristen Bruder. I'm the area director up in Area 6, so that covers Eau Claire, Chippewa, and Dunn counties. Prior to that, I actually was area director in Area 5, which is
No, it's
I've
not.
got so many counties, which was Pierce, Polk, and St. Croix counties. Came back to Area 6, that's where I live, actually right in the apex of Area 6, so I'm all over. So in this transition with Pat, I was asked to come in and step in as the interim director until a new position, until a new AED is hired. Jason was on, he had a meeting, I'm sorry, at 9:15. So he was going to introduce that process, which I can do unless
And
you.
we can do that together, just
Yep.
fine.
So-
So, I have decided I'm stepping down from my area extension director position. I was one of the very original ones. So I've been here since July 1st, 2017 as the AED. And we've implemented a lot of changes over the years. We've struggled to learn together. You know, we've gone through a pandemic together. Oh, my God. And I just wanted to let you know it has been a pleasure to work with all of you. I really enjoy working with local government officials. So, and I think we've done a good job of producing solutions that really tried to meet the needs of Trempealeau County. Using the resources of the university, using your resources wisely. And I am going to miss the adventure of working with county boards. It's an adventure. I am not retiring. I am transitioning back to my faculty status so I can go back to teaching.
Awesome.
And that transition will take a little time, but I am stepping down officially. My last day as the AED will be June 30th. And then officially, although she's doing work now, Kristen will take over as the interim educator. And she and I have been meeting. We've been discussing staffing, budgets, major projects, support, and other tasks, and we still have conversations to have. And they have already started the hiring process. So they had the request to fill all completed. The position has been posted. And what they do is they appoint a search and screen committee, and I will let you take over from there.
Great, thank you, Pat. So yeah, the search and screen committee, actually, Adam is on that search and screen, so thank you for that. In this interim role, my role is going to be to help support staff, to work with local governments, to shepherd through the budget process, since we are in budget season, and just to be here as a resource, and prepare the next AED for that transition. It takes a little bit to hire, as you all know. So we are in that process. Jason has expedited the process. They hope to have somebody on board by September 1. So interviews, the closing date is the end of the month, right, or at the beginning of July is the closing.
See, it's like July 3rd or July 6th.
Yeah, it's right at the beginning of July. We screen, we'll do a preliminary interview, and then we'll do final interviews. Jason will be providing a meet and greet opportunity for local governments across the 4 counties. So if you're interested in seeing or learning about the candidates for AED, he'll talk about that probably in the coming weeks as he gets that organized. He's also very open to your feedback. What are you looking for in an area director? So you can certainly share that information with him as well.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, who's Jason?
Jason Hausler, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I thought he's
know
been
he was
involved in
on.
these,
Yeah,
in
he
these
was on
meetings. So Jason Hausler is the assistant dean. So we have 2 assistant deans that cover the state, that cover the counties or the areas, and then we have 2 associate deans that cover the program area. And so Jason covers this region of the state.
So he's essentially,
My boss.
your
Yes,
boss.
our
Yes,
boss,
okay.
yes.
Thank
So
you.
he's the hiring authority for this position.
Got it.
And he'll be shepherding through that process.
Thank you.
So, and he was on the screen and had to jump off. So he would have given this information had he not had to jump off. So I think that's about all he wanted to add. As I said, welcome feedback about skills, abilities, assets for the area directors. So please reach out to me or to Jason directly on those questions. But I'll be moving forward and working with the staff until the new AED is on board. So
I
it's a
think we could
pleasure
just-
to meet you and a pleasure to be a part of this area.
Well, thanks for stepping in the interim, so we
Yeah,
appreciate it.
definitely.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I think as far as feedback for who we'd like in the position, we should just clone Pat And then we'd be satisfied.
There you go. Excellent.
Okay.
So just let me finish by saying thank you all.
Yep.
It has been a lot of fun, and I have really enjoyed it. And Becky is graciously permitting me to hang out in my existing office until we get my final position all set. So thank you, ma'am.
Pat, would you mind sharing, you certainly don't have to, but could you share why you're leaving if you're willing to?
I am just ready for a change.
Yeah.
I'm just ready for a change, so.
There comes a time when that,
There
yep.
comes time, and, you know, what I like most about this position has always been working with the educators in the local government, but working with people on hiring them and getting them on board and mentoring them. And the administrivia, not so much. I mean, it's important and it has to be done, but it's that people part. And for an introvert, that's really kind of amazing. That's my favorite part of the job.
Well, we appreciate all
Yeah,
that
we
you've
do.
done over the years.
On behalf of
Yeah.
the Trempealeau County, we really appreciate your service.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and contracts discussion.
Okay. We also have shared the contract that that is proposed for 2025, just so that you can see it. And Tammy, in her brilliance, said, why not include the one that's in effect for this year? So you can actually compare and contrast. Any significant changes in the contract?
No, they did add a section, but otherwise there was just minor.
Yeah, the section they added was the Exhibit A, the delegation of financial budget authority. And that just says we can, you know, get invoices paid and approve timely for,
Well, that was actually added last year.
Yes.
It's
it's the
the
cyber.
yeah, it's the cybersecurity provisions. It's just to protect both parties, if you will, if there's a cyber attack that happens that affects our data or affects your data, and to make sure that we're secure. So that's just Section D. You can read through
Yep.
that.
And that, I mean, we know that that's an issue because Tim is fighting off the evil people right now with,
Yes, he is.
with the Trempealeau County cyber team. And I know that every educator is required, and our zero appointment people are all required to take annual cybersecurity training and pass that. So we value that very highly, very strong. And sadly, it's gotten to be far too common.
And there was a breach in the state, so, in another county in the southern part, so it was just a provision that was added to protect both parties.
Makes sense, yep.
Yeah,
All right.
that's it.
No more contract discussion? All right, I'm assuming with so much going on, we'll have a meeting next month. What date do we want to set?
What we need to be doing is that Becky really wants each committee to set a regular meeting date. It's not that we have to have that meeting every month, but the meetings we have are on the same date and time, which makes sense to me.
Yep, it does.
Which this is the,
And we have
Yes.
been doing it
Yeah.
regularly.
Yeah.
yeah, we do it the Monday or the Tuesday after the county board meeting, right?
Every other month. Yeah, I don't see any reason to change it unless
Yeah,
anyone
the
else
Tuesday
does.
after the counting, I don't see any reason to change that, so.
Okay.
August 20th would be the third Tuesday if you want to stick with what we're doing.
Or did you
Okay.
think that we needed to meet in July, given the changes?
Yeah,
It's up to you, Kristen.
yeah. Do you think we'll need, usually we do other every month, but with everything going on, do you think this time we'll need another one in July?
I would imagine, I haven't had the opportunity to talk with, about the budget or contracts. We're hoping to do that after this meeting, so thank you. But I would imagine that there's probably enough to discuss.
Okay.
So I think we can do that this time with the changes in the budget and our new acting AED. Maybe that's a good idea.
Can I
That'd be
ask,
the 16th.
for Becky, do you feel like that's enough time, or do you want to wait? I mean, for your decision of what you want to do, or what you're,
Yep.
because I know you're busy too, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't know how much we'll have
on the budget yet.
Because that's going to be pretty quick.
So I'm just kind of wondering if, I don't know, if you really.
Did you want to talk about like the Hort position or some of
Yes.
the,
Yeah, but I don't know. if we
budgetary items, maybe
wanna
not.
wait until August to bring that back? Are you, if you want to bring, our discussions on that in July, that's fine. I don't have an issue with it.
it would be what the committee would like to, and Becky. I could go either way.
We have a law enforcement meeting at 8 o'clock on the 16th, right? Yeah, the 16th, so we would need to just start at 9 maybe then.
I feel like, I don't feel like I need to meet in July, only if you guys think that you'll have enough that needs action taken in July. We'd hate to delay
Yeah.
anything that you need from us, but if you don't think that you'll have anything
Why
really,
don't we wait and see how it goes, and we can always ask for a meeting, right?
Yep,
yeah,
we can.
absolutely.
All
Let's
right.
Set it up for
Rather than for
August.
not
Yep.
meeting.
So let's just
Great
maybe
point.
set up for August now. If something comes up, we can change it.
Yep.
And what date would that be in August?
August 20th.
August
Yep.
20th.
Let's do it, 8:30.
8:30. Sounds good. Will be our next meeting, August 20th at 8:30. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.